don't think we're at war with Islam. I don't think we're at war with all Muslims. I think we're at war with jihadists. I think that you can talk about Islamists who clearly are also jihadists.
I don't think the term is what's important.
I believe calling it what it is, it's to say radical jihadis. That's to call what it is.
Democratic presidential candidates are avoiding using the term radical Islam. At least they did Saturday night during the debate. Republican candidates are responding.
I don't understand it. That would be like saying we weren't at war with Nazis because we were afraid to offend some Germans who may have been members of the Nazi party but weren't violent themselves. We are at war with radical Islam.
This is Islamic terrorism. The Democrats have no clue about this, or they just refuse to call it what it is. These are Islamic terrorists that are trying to take out our country and destroy Western civilization.
The deadly terror attacks in France making foreign policy a key issue in the 2016 presidential election in the United States. Our panel with me now, Melissa Francis, Lisa Booth, David Asman, joining me now. So, Melissa, Hillary Clinton's comments proving that perhaps her greatest strength may also be her greatest weakness. Is that your takeaway?
I mean, she went back and forth several times on the topic of what we should be doing and not only what we should call our enemy. She said that, you know, it's important for us to lead in a sense, but we shouldn't actually be physically leading. I mean, at one point, amazingly, she said that that should fall on Assad and Iraq. So now, I mean, if she wants to say that, you know, she's on the same page as President Obama, and then in the same breath say that she thinks Assad should be out in front of us leading our way into this battle, it's pretty frightening.
Yeah, that seems like a frightening idea indeed. David, in your mind, does this make some sort of turning point as far as the presidential race goes?
Yeah, I think it does. We can talk about the Republicans, but just to wrap on Hillary, how does she dodge her responsibility for the mess that is now the Middle East? I mean, all of that Arab Spring stuff happened on her watch. Remember that it was the administration, with her encouragement, that was supporting the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. That didn't turn out very well. The head of that organization ended up in jail. Libya, of course, we know about Benghazi. Has enough been said there. So there are big problems for Hillary because of what she did when she was Secretary of State. But it does change the Republican race. People like Trump and Christie, the hardest ones on national security, the ones who have been warning about this, and on immigration, benefit.
Okay, so Lisa, bringing you in on that point, I mean, Carson didn't seem to help himself. There was that Fox News Sunday interview, and he had trouble naming some pretty key names, including countries that he would include in an international coalition. What is your take on how he is giving, let's just say, the image of being able to be a leader?
Right, and Deidre, this certainly refocuses the debate because now there's going to be a heavy emphasis on foreign policy. And the reality, it's kind of going to come down to a lot of voters about which party makes me feel safe, which candidate makes me feel safe. And the problem is, if you look at polling, the majority of Americans disapprove of President Obama's handling of ISIS. They disapprove of his handling of terrorism. So that puts Hillary Clinton in a very tough position. And they're going to be looking at these Republican candidates to be able to lay out what would their strategy be? What is their outlook on this? And how can they help protect our nation? Because the reality is, despite what Hillary Clinton wants to say, we are at war with radical Islam. That is exactly what ISIS wants. They want a global caliphate, and they want everyone living under Sharia law. And that is exactly the enemy we face, is Islamic extremism.
Yeah, there are people here even saying that this is part of their strategy, that is to say, to separate Muslim, I would say normal, average, peaceful Muslims from the radical sect so that they feel rejected. And to your point, Lisa, join the caliphate and really build it up. I want to talk about Bernie Sanders, though, because Saturday night he seemed to go further, even blaming terror attacks on climate change. This is what he said.
In fact, climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism. And if we do not get our act together and listen to what the scientists say, you're going to see countries all over the world. This is what the CIA says. They're going to be struggling over limited amounts of water, limited amounts of land to grow their crops. And you're going to see all kinds of international conflict.
So, Melissa, what is your take on this? I mean, it doesn't, to me, there's not a natural link, but what are other people that you're talking to saying?
No, I mean, he definitely, when he says stuff like that, he definitely sounds like a lunatic. But the person that benefits is Hillary Clinton, who doesn't even want to name radical Islam as the enemy in all this. Look, I mean, I think for any of the candidates, you might want to consider taking a page out of Israel's book. I mean, Israel is a country that embraces democracy, but at the same time understands the idea that what comes first and foremost is protecting your country, protecting your people, and they don't worry about when the rest of the world is criticizing them and saying they're not being PC and the way that they go about defending themselves from this same enemy. We should be following in that track.
David, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, who is Sanders helping in addition to Hillary Clinton?
Well, he's not helping himself. We have to remember that it was the Obama administration, again, when Hillary was Secretary of State, that was pushing this message that what's causing all these evil acts around the world is poverty and deprivation and so forth. It's not because people are deprived, it's because they're depraved. I mean, that's what's causing this. One of the people that police are now searching Europe for, one of those on the loose, comes from a very upper class background. He was born in Europe. He wasn't born in the Middle East. He became radicalized in Europe. He had ample opportunity not just to feed and clothe himself, but to prosper because of what his parents were, their social status, their economic status. It doesn't have to do with economic status, let alone with global warming.
All right. Thank you all. So glad to have you. Lisa Booth, David Asman, Melissa Francis, the home team. Thank you.
Thank you, Deidre.
My next guest